How you doing? My name's R.O.V.E.R.S. I work for the U.S. Forest Service here in the Columbia River Gorge National Scenic Area. Today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the natural history and plants around the gorge here. So right now we're in the west end of the gorge here at Joaquina Falls. And the area we're in right now is considered a temperate rainforest. The reason why it's a temperate rainforest is all the moisture we get from the Pacific Ocean. It comes all this way in the mountains, create a rain shadow that draw a lot of the moisture out. Just a matter of 50 miles down the road, we go into an arid landscape, and that's because of the rain shadow too. So this gorge is one of the most drastic rain shadow examples you can see in the world. As I mentioned earlier, the Columbia River Gorge is a very wet climate. In this area alone, we can get up to 75 inches or more in a rainy year. It's the middle of July, and we can still see the stream is flowing really hard right now. And you can look around too, the vegetation is still green and lush, and it supports a lot of the native species we see around here. The temperate rainforest is a pretty rare forest around the world, so we're pretty lucky to have it here in the Pacific Northwest. Some of the dominant tree species you can see here in the gorge and the temperate rainforest here in the Pacific Northwest are the big leaf maples, Douglas fir, western hemlock, western red cedar, and some vine maple. It's just some of the main dominant tree species, to name a few. Right here we have two examples. One right here is the vine maple. You can tell by its small leaves, and they grow with like 10 to like upwards more stems coming out, and they can grow thickets in the understory. Another tree growing right next to it is the big leaf maple. You can just tell by it has a really big leaf. So for this part, I'm gonna talk about some common plants you're gonna find here in the understory. Here in the gorge, a very common plant we see is thimbleberry. Thimbleberry, you can tell, has very soft leaves. They produce a little red berry on them. You can see this is the stalk left from the berries earlier in the season. But they resemble a small, like, red raspberry. They're pretty good. And they grow in thickets all along the trails around here. And this is the red little berry it has. It resembles something that looks like a small raspberry. So here in the Columbia River Gorge, you're pretty much guaranteed anywhere here in the understory to find these plants right here. Some common ferns you're gonna find is the maidenhair. One way to identify this one is they have a long black stem running down the middle, and they also have these spores underneath the leaves right there. And then right next to it is the sword fern. These ones are very really common too. They can get really big, and they have a bunch of spores underneath the leaves too. The reason why ferns like these are so common here in the Pacific Northwest is because of all the moisture we get from the coast, and also we have a lot of shade here in the understory too. Another unique and beautiful plant here you can find in the understory is ocean spray. The way you can find it or ID it is they have these really puffy white flower clusters, and they also have lobed leaves that are kind of soft. One thing that comes to mind when I think about the Pacific Northwest is the thick blankets of moss you can find all around here. So I'm going to talk about another plant here in the Pacific Northwest you should be very, very careful of. This one is poison oak, and it's growing all along this hillside that we see right here. One way to identify it is like how shiny it is. It looks really glossy. It looks kind of fake. The leaves are low, but they can sometimes also be jagged. And another key identifier is that the leaves come in threes. See, all these leaves have sets of 3 on them, and they can be a small shrubby plant, or they can turn into a vine too and climb up trees. So please don't go off trail. You know, going off trail, you risk being exposed to poison oak a lot more. So here in the Columbia River Gorge, we have a lot of beautiful and special flowers that grow here in the understory too. This plant, for example, is called fireweed. It comes from when fire comes through. As you can see, this log right here, the Eagle Creek fire was only about 2 or 3 years ago, and a lot of these wildflowers still grow and sprout every year. Another cool and unique plant you can find growing along the Columbia River Gorge is the foxglove. They have many different colors. This one's early in the bloom, And another fun fact about this plant, it's extremely poisonous. So don't eat it. So another common flower we can find around here is the red combine. The red combine has a few different types, but you can also find the purple one, which is really common. This is near the late end of its season blooming. It's usually one of the first ones to bloom in spring, and they're really common all along here in the Columbia River Gorge. Just want to say thank you guys again for tuning in, and I encourage you all to come to the Columbia River Gorge different times of the year and check out the local ecology and plants.
Welcome to the Black Hills National Forest. With 1.2 million acres of public lands in western South Dakota and northeast Wyoming, motorized recreation has become increasingly popular in Black Hills National Forest. The Travel Management Plan of 2010 designated a motorized trail system on the Black Hills National Forest. It identifies roads, trails, and areas open to motorized travel. It is important to note that any route or area not on this system is not open for motorized vehicles. Cross-country travel is not allowed. When planning your ride, be sure and have a current motorized vehicle use map, otherwise known as the MVUM. This map serves as the legal document allowing motorized use on roads and trails. The map displays routes designated for motorized travel, the dates the routes are open, and the width of vehicles allowed. While riding, you may encounter routes that are not shown on the map. These routes are temporary for administrative use and are not open for public travel. Motor vehicle use maps are updated yearly. They are available at any Black Hills National Forest office and many local vendors. Paper copies of the map are great for planning your ride. However, using the digital version of the map on a mobile device makes it much easier to navigate the trails. The digital version of these maps is located on the Avenza app. To access these maps on your mobile device, download the free Avenza app, search for Black Hills National Forest, and select the district maps that you would like to download. Once you have the map downloaded, you don't need any cell service to navigate. With the GPS function turned on, your location on the ground is depicted by a blue dot on the screen. In the Black Hills National Forest, you will find a variety of motorized experiences for all types of users. The Black Hills National Forest has over 3,600 miles of roads and approximately 700 miles of motorized trails. Roads are identified with 3 digits, while trails are identified with 4 digits. Many roads and trails have seasonal restrictions. This means that they may not be open at certain times of the year for public use. These seasonal restrictions may be extended if conditions are not suitable. Routes may also need to be temporarily closed due to forest operations, for public safety or resource concerns. Wherever possible, signs or notices will be posted on the ground. Be sure to check with your local ranger district office or the Black Hills National Forest website to ensure the routes you plan to ride are open. Conditions can vary throughout the year as well as across the forest. At times, roads and trails can be adversely affected by the weather. Fallen trees can block access, and excessive moisture can cause the system to become wet and muddy. If you encounter these conditions, please slow down and proceed with caution. Driving through mud at high speeds or driving around obstacles may be unsafe and cause negative impacts to the resource. Mud bogging or riding in a manner that creates resource damage is illegal. Repairing this damage is costly and time-consuming and can result in trails being closed permanently. For tips on riding responsibly, check out treadlightly.org. Tread Lightly is a national campaign with tips and tricks to help ride responsibly and respectfully. While riding, you may encounter Forest Service trail rangers. They are there to help educate and inform riders of the trail conditions, rules of use, and to help navigate the system. They assist in maintaining the trails and help enforce the travel management plan. The motor vehicle use map identifies routes available for riding in both South Dakota and Wyoming. Each state has a separate permitting system. When riding trails in South Dakota, a Black Hills motorized trail permit is required. These permits are available at many Forest Service offices throughout the Black Hills, online, or from many local vendors. Permits must be permanently affixed and visible from the front left side of the vehicle. In Wyoming, you will need a Wyoming State off-road vehicle permit. These permits can be obtained online over the phone, or at many local selling agents. There is no reciprocity recognizing trail permits between South Dakota and Wyoming. Thousands of motorized users visit the Black Hills National Forest every year. It is important to remember to minimize your impact to ensure the roads and trails are here for future generations. We hope you enjoy riding the roads and trails on the Black Hills National Forest.
Good morning. My name is Katie Santini. I am a biological science tech with the USDA Forest Service Columbia River Gorge National Scenic Area. Today we are here at Tanner Creek and we are going to be pulling some water temperature data off of hobo loggers, and this data is used for informing some of our projects as well as going into a long-term database for our regional office. Is a Hobo Water Temp Pro. It records the water temperature once an hour on the hour, and these where we have them deployed will run all year long, so we have a consistent temperature record for each of the streams that we have them placed in.
Hi, my name is Kira McAdams. I'm a biological science technician with the U.S. Forest Service in the Columbia River Gorge National Scenic Area.
Pulling the data off of the logger.
So what does this machine do?
It's pulling the data off of the logger so that we can put it on our computer and upload it and see it in a graph format, so the temperature, how it's changed over time since the last time we placed the logger in the water. It's currently transferring. When we get a green light, we know that we've got the information.
Nice.
Here.
What is it like being a biological science technician?
It's actually a super fun position. In the scenic area right now, I serve the programs of botany, ecology, fisheries, wildlife, and hydrology. So it's a really varied position. I get to do a lot of field work and a lot of plant and animal surveys, a little bit of native plant planting and restoration work. And then we also help with some of the long-term monitoring, like the water temperature surveys. I would say spring, summer, and fall, most of my work is in the field. I'm usually out for half a day to 3/4 of a day working on different projects. Then when we start to get more into the winter season and the rainy season, I transition to the office and do more of our long-term data entry and data management, organizing our pictures and stuff like that.
A memorable part of my job this season has been in looking at petroglyphs and pictographs. He was showing us how to ID artifacts, like artifacts that like little chips of tools. It was really educational and really cool getting to be out on one of the few islands in the Columbia River Gorge.
Thanks so much for joining Katie and I. I hope you enjoyed watching a day in the life of a biological science technician.